You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 168. Well, how about that? Can't argue with that. Been on longer than most shows. Can't lie. Anywho, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Kelly, a.k.a. Kelly, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Volta Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
You know, today for some reason just feels as much of not a Wednesday as it has. It's been a weird sort of day. The last 20-ish minutes have also been kind of weird too.
Sure.
I feel ill-prepared for the show, but you know what? We got a lot to talk about, so maybe we'll kind of make it up a little bit more as we go.
Absolutely. And the thing is, there's so much to talk about Minnesota sports-wise besides that. And the reason why that there's a lot of Minnesota sports stuff is because Wild just started. The Gophers are football's obviously playing. Gopher hockey's going to be starting up. And the Twins, you know, wrapped up their season. We got to talk about that.
Yeah.
The Vikings, obviously. There's a lot of big things happening. So that's why there's no special segment tonight. But we are going to hit you with all Minnesota sports types of things because we are a Minnesota sports show. So we'd be remiss if we didn't have any Minnesota sports show stuff on here. So tonight we're starting off with the Golden Gopher football team. They play Iowa, and Voldy, we've been talking about this Iowa Gopher thing for a while now, ever since on this show. The only hiccup that we have with PJ Fleck-led Gophers is they haven't beaten Iowa while he's been here.
Can't beat Iowa.
This is a statement game for the Gophers. So we will be talking about that tonight. And then we are going to wrap up the Twin season, kind of give our thoughts, just kind of express like, hey, the things that went well, things that they need to improve upon. What are they going to do in the offseason? So there's a lot going on there. Voldy, your prediction about the Wild not winning the Stanley Cup is actually, it's coming into fruition a little bit. The Wild are injured out of the gate. Yes, they're 2-1. Obviously, they did not play well against Toronto. They really, Austin Matthews, very, very good.
Had a nice win last night against Montreal, though.
Yes,
so.
They did. I believe 5-2, if I'm not mistaken.
5-2, yep.
Yeah, 5-2. So, but there's some injuries. Boldy, Goligoski. So, we don't like that. We want them to try to stay a little bit healthier here.
Right.
Then, obviously, we're going to wrap things up for Hot Take with the Minnesota Vikings, their win over the Bears. And then they got the Niners up next. I don't like it. But we'll go over. We'll talk about it. Then ARA, we got a lot of talk. Flag football coming back to the Olympics. So we'll talk about that. More sports added as well. Bryceharper, he wants to play in the Olympics. Trevor May bashing those A's. And then Rodgers we'll back? It's going to happen? Oh, my goodness. And then Belichick, Voldy, your guy, Bill Belichick. Is he on the hot seat? So we've got a lot to get to. Shield shoutouts, as always, too. But, Voldy, before we get into Hot Take, because I know there's a lot of them, picks. This past week, we give congratulations to Molly Vold for winning the week and winning the limited edition hat. Look at that thing. Isn't that just great? You got the gray, you got the red, you got the Minnesota, they got the state in there. Obviously, if you compare these two right here,
pretty close.
Pretty close, I'd say. You got the red, the black, and then the gray. I really like the gray. It's a very nice touch. I like it.
Very
so
nice
congratulations to Molly Vold.
Keeping it in the family. Here we go.
Might as well. So, and make sure to get your picks in. Obviously,
Yes.
A lot of people are doing really well. So I give claps out to Zona for doing such a
one of them.
But Voldy, the thing is we'll just keep on trucking. That's all we got to do.
Keep on doing it.
So we'll just keep doing what we need to do. All right, Voldy, let's just get right into it. It's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take. Bang.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, Voldy, it's time for Tater Tot Hot Take. It's interesting with this Golden Gopher football team. Obviously, they've played some tough teams. Let's not forget that. They played University of North Carolina. They got Drake May. They are a very good football team over there at UNC. But this past 2 weeks ago now, they took on Michigan. They got absolutely obliterated. But you know what?
Whoa.
A lot of teams would get obliterated, and those losses don't necessarily bother me as much. The one that bothers us is the Northwestern game. That one is going to, unless these Gophers go in and take that pig, this has to be the statement game, not only for the Gophers, but this is a statement game for P.J. Fleck. This is very important. If they do not I mean, if they get destroyed, there's going to be a lot of non-Fleck believers, and don't get me wrong.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if I can defend him in this right now because it just shows, the Gophers have a lot, had a lot of injuries, graded, but they do have a lot of talent. You're getting some guys back that you haven't had, only for a little bit. You had the bye week at the right time. You're getting guys back healthier. And I think that's the big thing here. And obviously the Gophers defense has really taken a nosedive ever since that Northwestern game. They've gone from one of the top teams. Now they're 70th in the country in total defense. So Voldy, I was good. Don't get me wrong. They're a good team. You get Darius Taylor back, Lindenberg as well. That helps. This is going to be a tough test, and they need to run the ball. Obviously, they're going to run the ball like 40 times tops. But what do you think the Gophers have to do to get a win in Iowa? What do you think?
They literally just don't have to turn the ball over. It's kind of the big thing with them because we already know Iowa and their offense is god-awful. It's like among the worst in the nation, which is saying something, especially for a Big Ten team as well that has prided themselves for being a team that is consistently in the conversation within the Big Ten. But the last couple of years, it's just been like, let's just hope that we can get the ball and get a field goal at some point. But with Iowa, they just know how to get to Minnesota for some reason. Worst team in the country when it comes to offense, and yet they still find a way to outscore Minnesota. If the Gophers hang on to the football, they've got a really good chance. They're smart with the football. They run good sure passes as well with their offense too. They've got a very good chance to win this. We already know the Iowa defense is going to be that vaunted Iowa defense that they always have year in and year out. And it's going to be up for the Gophers too defensively. They're going to have to play the game of the season, I think, in my mind, especially after taking one on the chin like they did against Michigan too. They just need to be able to rebound and create havoc for this Iowa offense, for the Gopher defense, because they already know that they're going to be coming in, obviously, with a little bit of chip on their shoulder, that Gopher defense to know that, okay, this team's offense isn't that good. Now we have to prove why it's not any good and continue to push the pace on that while also making sure that they can get the ball back to their offense with plenty of field to work with.
Right. And, Ethan Kaliakmanis did not have the best game against Michigan. No. And, in those types of games, I feel like they didn't really show, like, hey, we're not going to just let them push us around it. I mean, they did. Mm-hmm. I mean, you saw it. It's quite evident there. But Kaliakmanis once he threw that pick six against Michigan, I mean, it was over from the start there. He did have a really nice throw to Jackson at the end of the half of that game because they did get a field goal, but then they, scored 10 with that very nice throw. He has the intangibles, and he's still a young guy. Give him some time. Yeah. But the big thing that pisses me off, and I don't understand it because I want them to utilize him. They got to use Brevin Spanford, man. He is a big target. Don't get me wrong, and I know that defense probably key in on him and all that. But you got to find ways to get the guy open. He is 6'7", 6'8", whatever it is. The guy's a monster. Mm-hmm. Get him the ball and let him cook. Let him cook, right? And I understand the Gophers want to run the ball. I get that. I applaud that, trying to control the game and whatnot, but you also have to be a good passing team. You cannot be one-dimensional in the Big Ten, especially when teams like USC and UCLA are going to be coming, Oregon, Washington, for God's sake. I mean, you have to be able to throw the ball. And Ethan Kaliakmanis, I like some of the things he does, but I also know that he's got some, growth. There's growth to be had, but I think PJ needs to know we do have to throw the ball here a little bit because if we can't keep up with these teams. So I think that is a major key. Use the big guy, Brevin Spanford. I swear it will not only help you, it'll show that teams are going to be concerned about your passing game. with Spanford. So that's one thing. They have the receivers. Crooms is a very good route runner. He's very quick. And then you have Jackson. Jackson makes plays. I wish Chris Ottman-Bell would be off the injury report, but this is his last season now. So hopefully you get him back. Yep. I mean, it's sixth season? It's the Antoine Winfield Jr. thing here, Voldy. So it's just like crazy.
Exactly.
It's crazy. So, those are something to keep our eyes on there. But we'll wrap this up. And Voldy, are they going to get the pig? Are they finally going to get the pig here? What do you think?
Initial gut reaction to this, I'm going to say yes. I think they are going to get the pig. It's going to be one of those. It's going to come down to like the last series, whoever's got the ball last, and defense is going to have to make a play. Hopefully that is not the case. Gophers come out quick. They put up 30 in the first half, and they put up another 30 in the second half and just be done with it. But that's probably not what's going to happen. This is going to be one of those, 14-10, drag them out, Big Ten conference matchups as well. But let's just hope that it is going to be a Gophers win. I think they do. If they don't, you're probably going to get a lot more conversation on PJ Fleck being on the hot seat once again.
And honestly, I wouldn't blame. But, I mean, if they really get throttled, yeah, there's going to be a lot of chatter, especially when you signed them those big extensions. So that's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. So, Zoners, let us know what you think coming up this weekend. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm just going to go out on a limb. They're going to beat them. The Curve Doctor tuning in tonight, he says, Gophers need to make bacon. They do. We got to put them on the sizzler. We got it. How do you want it? You want it crispy or do you want it a little bit, chewy? Like it depends on how you want it. You can add eggs with it. I'm just getting we're getting out of sorts here with food.
Now I'm hungry again.
Now I'm hungry. Thanks, Curve Doctor. But yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say they're going to win. And I think this is the statement game for Fleck saying I'm still the guy and all that. But if it doesn't happen, then you might need to start looking at some options here. I'm not saying like right now, but I mean you got to have that win, especially when you beat Wisconsin. You've done that. You beat Penn State. Did he beat Michigan when he was here? Do we know? I think that's
I want to say at least once.
Yeah. So this is the only one that has been a blemish. Get it done. That's all I got to say there. So, we're moving on to the Minnesota Twins. Voldy, I can confidently say, and Zoners, that the Minnesota Twins, they did a great job. I'm going to say it right here. I give them some applause. They exceeded my expectations, which we'll ask Voldy here in a second on what he thinks. And Zoners, let us know what you think about how this Twin season went in the chats, if you will. They exceeded expectations. I feel like the catalyst to this team was Royce Lewis. Royce Lewis was pretty much the offense these two playoff series. If I'm being completely honest, there were some big hits by Polanco and Julian, obviously, and whatnot. But as we all know, we knew the Astros were a good team, and it was going to be tough for them to win. I said Twins in 5, but we need those hitters to step up in those moments. But the first half of the season, Voldy, I said it before, I thought that they should have let Rocco go and get some new management in there. If they beat the Astros, I would have went on this show and apologized to Rocco Baldelli. But I'm not to that point yet because they didn't beat the Astros.
No, they didn't.
That first half of the season was just so abysmal. I went to 2 of the games that they lost in, especially the one against the Orioles, who lost to the Rangers here this postseason. and they were terrible. I mean, it was so painful to watch, especially the pitching at that point. But the bats, I mean, it's the bats too, and I think there's some questionable things that Rocco did, like taking Joe Ryan out after he played relatively pretty well. And Voldy, you mentioned it last week too. And then Byron Buxton, bringing him in, as a last gasp. So, I mean, there's a lot of question marks on that. But Voldy, give us your thoughts here on the Twins season, and then we'll just go right into, what they got to do in the offseason. What do you got?
Right, talking about, the season as a whole, too, you knew that this team was going to have a lot of question marks, especially coming off of a season where they had, obviously, a for sure candidate that was, obviously, a player to be recognized in Luis Ariz. You trade him to Miami, you get a starting pitcher in return, and look, that trade is about as even as it goes on each side for, obviously for both teams, too. I mean, Lopez was as much of an ace on this team as Sonny Gray was, which was another nice surprise, too, to see Sonny Gray obviously fully healthy, comfortable in the rotation as well. And he goes out and probably has one of his better seasons, barring him winning a Cy Young, which he did previously as well. One of his better seasons. It was that co-ace on this rotation from the get-go, from obviously the first half. The pitching wasn't really the big concern for the Twins as we thought it was going to be coming into the season. A lot of the question marks came into, okay, how's this team going to align with, like, Kyle Garlick? You've got also, this bevy of outfielders you've got as well. Where does Nick Gordon fit on the field as well? You've got Kirilloff. Is it going to be 100% or not? Is it going to be in first base? Is it going to be in the outfield? Max Kepler. You've got what's going on with, Jose Miranda as well, or Miranda, whatever happened to him in that season he had last year as well. You got what's the fully healthy likelihood of Royce Lewis being in the impact in the lineup? We saw that during the postseason, and that was on the offensive side, and how that all really came to be really delved itself out. Kyle Farmer had a nice season with the Twins too in his first year as well. The catching situation also really solidified with Ryan Jeffers being the main guy, and who was the backup? Oh, Christian Vasquez being the backup for the Twins. Coming off obviously successful seasons in the past, of which he had with the Red Sox too, and just a lot of young guys getting their first chance in the league too really came out to be. And obviously a lot of guys that got hurt early on in the year or the end of last season came back and added a couple of nice pieces, like Brock Stewart, Caleb Thielbar. Thielbar's not a young guy. He's a very old guy. Then you got Chris Paddock, who came in towards the back half of the season too. Last handful of games, and he was very productive out of the bullpen as well. So that's one thing that I really look at this whole season, is just that the pitching wasn't really the issue. It just came down to how are all these bats going to align and who's going to be playing where was kind of the big thing for me looking back at this whole season.
Yeah, no kidding. And I want to add to this though, what you said about the pitching. We didn't think Lopez was going to, do much. We thought this was a bad trade. And obviously, as we saw here in the playoffs, it proved to be really good. So there's a lot of positives to take from the Pablo Lopez deal. And now with Luis Ariz, the Luis Ariz deal, I think, is going to, pay some dividends. But there's some question marks, though, because Sonny Gray, we're not sure if, we're not sure if he's coming back, if he's not coming back. Maybe they have to look at a front-end starter and things. But there's they got to extend a qualifying offer. Presumably Gray will turn it down. So there's that to figure out. But the question is, is there going to be a guy that would make that impact? And I think that they can do that. My question is, for sure. And my question is, what are there going to be hitters that might be available? Because the Joey Gallo experiment No, we're done with that. I mean, this was getting to Sano type of, numbers here. Well, actually,
That's
I
saying
think he
something.
might have surpassed at some point there.
Yeah, you know what you were getting with Joey Gallo in the
Yeah,
lineup.
yeah, fair enough. And, I know that, here's a couple names. Frankie Montes, remember him?
Yep.
When they thought of him. Jack Flaherty, James Paxton. So for pitching wise, Kepler's another guy to kind of look at too and say, I mean, he did have a good and second half of the season. I feel like he kind of played a little bit better, but is he going to continue to be? I mean, the outfield's already crowded, and there was a quote that said Buxton was like, "I want to play back at center field."
Then get healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Stop hitting into walls. Stop. I mean, purposefully, and
Get
stop
healthy.
getting hurt. Yeah, it's that simple. And
Don't do anything in the off season. Just literally sit in a hyperbaric chamber, wrapped in bubble wrap, in a padded room, and just wait till spring training, 2024.
That's exactly my thoughts.
See you in Fort Myers.
Yeah, wrap him in bubble wrap when he's out in the field. When we get back to when we go to spring training.
Exactly.
I think you got to look at bringing in another bat. Julian, I really do like. I think he showed some promise. Wallner kind of fizzled out a little bit in the playoffs. I say. So I'm not saying give up on him or by any means. I think he can turn it around.
Definitely not.
But you have a lot of guys that are going to play well and whatnot, but I just feel like they got to add one more bat. Obviously, Carlos Correa was fantastic these playoffs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Curve Doctor says, clip that Voldyism. Don't worry. We got it ready. I'll make sure I get that out and recorded. But I think they could add a couple more bats to the lineup. Duran, I mean, don't give up Duran. The guy's throwing over 104 miles an hour. So do not. The guy's a beast. So let's not have another Brewstar Gratterall trade. Let's not do that. Yes. That's another. I'm just shaking, just thinking about it.
No Wilson Ramos for Matt Capps either.
Oh,
we don't want that.
Matt Capps. Oh man, that was bad. Was bad. Like you and I know. Bad. Oh my god, that was bad. So hopefully we don't get those deals. But let's kind of wrap this up by saying this. Obviously, with the off season coming up, we talked, about that. But for the future here, would you say, from your perspective, Voldy, at this point in time, the future is bright for these Minnesota Twins? Would you say?
I would say so. Sure. I definitely think this is a club, especially coming into this season, or at least looking at what we've got here coming into the next season. I mean, there's a lot of promise. Obviously, we have a much more solidified rotation that we have in years past of like, oh, this guy could start or this guy could go to the bullpen. I mean, we've got at least 3 for sure, if not 4 guys in the rotation. 5th spot kind of open right now. Guys in the minors. What's Chris Paddock going to be looking at too? Tyler Molly as well, with him coming off injury. How that's going to play into the rotation. So there are certainly a lot of guys here that can certainly make an impact with a full set rotation too. Youth that we've seen especially this season too, the young guys that have had to step up. Royce Lewis playing in the field as well. Obviously, if Carlos Correa can stay healthy too and figure out the hitting situation, I think this Twins team has definitely got something to look forward to over these next few years too.
So pieces. That's all I ask. The last thing I want to bring up, and I agree with you too. I think the future is bright. I think with the hitting and whatnot, but I hate going back to this because I just think that if they go far and there's a boneheaded decision that's made by Rocco Baldelli, this is going to be, it could be a disaster. And I feel like that could be the, end of what we were hoping they would be. So I'm hesitant, but I also know too that, you can have a good team. You just need the right leadership. And I think with Baldelli, I don't get that from him, but I can be proven wrong. The thing is you, at this point now, you have to do better than what you did the previous year. And, I mean, you don't make the playoffs, I say get rid of them. You have to at this point. Get the new leadership in there, go from there. If they make the playoffs, maybe do the same thing again. I don't know. There's maybe be some leeway there, but they got to do better than what they did the previous year. So this year I think is very important for the Twins. We got to see more growth. We got to, pending any injuries and all that stuff. I don't want to, give them too much grief on that, but I'd say the future's bright. I agree with that. So. All right, let's move on to hockey. Hockey is back. The Minnesota Wild are back. Voldy, we kind of briefly talked about it before we started Tater Tot Hot Take. Wild have accumulated a lot of injuries, but they are 2-1. They they won their first game. I believe it was against. Oh gosh, Voldy, remind me, who did they play? The first game.
Sorry, Florida.
Florida, thank you. Sorry, I was just looking at a comment. Our good friend Alex. Hello, Alex. Good to see you.
Hello.
Go Avs, go. No Avs, no. We don't want to hear that. No, this is a Minnesota show, not a Colorado show.
Lame.
LeMay. That's another ism right there. Matt Boldy injured. Goligoski injured. You also have Jared Spurgeon injured, FYI, so that's not going as well as we thought too. They're 2-1, but Voldy, your prediction on them not winning the Stanley Cup is actually going, proving to be. So, what are your thoughts on the Wild here, starting off the NHL season?
Right, obviously they did rebound with a nice 5-2 win last night against Montreal, and I feel like, especially these injuries coming on so early, I think it's just obviously regular wear and tear. Spurgeon and also Goligoski going down. That hurts the back end of the team with the defense as well, so you're really piecing things together here for the first couple of games before you can get guys called up and get them, to wherever they are in the country to, at least get them on the plane and in the rink as well to be a part of the team as well. So, there's really a lot of kind of a patchwork to start off here as well. Haven't heard a lot from Kirill. He had a couple of points last night with that group as well. To get that win. Joel Eriksson been playing really nice to start off as well. He had a couple of nice goals last night for the Wild too. So leaning on that experience early on is something that they're definitely going to have to be focused on here early. And the goaltending situation too. Gustafsson got roughed up a little bit against the Maple Leafs to start off, but did rebound nicely with that win for Marc-Andre Fleury in net on Tuesday night last night. But early on, these injuries may be a little bit troublesome for at least the start of the season, but as that'll provide more opportunity for some of these younger guys or guys that don't make the lineup quite frequently enough to at least be part of the team and at least be a helping hand overall.
I think they're making best. They can only do the best out of the situation that they're in.
Right.
I think there's, especially with Matt Dumba gone, I think that's another, factor of them getting used to the defensive, side of things. Brock Faber, right, I feel, has been playing very well. It's nice. Very well. I know he's a golfer, but, he had that nice goal. I believe it was against Florida. So he's starting to show some promise. and once you get those guys back, then I think it's going to be a little bit more helpful. But again, when you're taking on a team like Toronto, Toronto's a good team. I mean, they're no scrubs. And Matthews is very good, so I don't blame them, one bit for losing to Toronto. But they played the Canadians. They played really well. I watched some of the game. It's we want to see that from Kirill. We want to see those goals, and I mean he had, like you said, he had points last night, which helps, and that'll come with time. But with the injuries that have piled up so far too, I feel like they should be able to bounce back and go from there and whatnot. But I just think it's very early on. Obviously, they're just kind of getting their footing. Dino's trying to get things going too, and not to say that Billy G is probably gonna make some deals at some point. You always got to be on the prowl for that. So, they'll be all right. I mean, it's very early, and we just got to see where things go from there. And till then, go Wild, go. So, well, that being said, we'll keep an eye on things there. Let's move on to those Vikings, Voldy. They got the win against the Bears, those Chicago Bears. It wasn't a what? How would I describe it? It wasn't a. It was very similar to the Carolina game, Voldy. It wasn't great, and there were a lot of miscues offensively. We didn't run the ball particularly well. We struggled with the absence of one Justin Jefferson. The offense wasn't good. In the second half, they were pretty poor, I would say. They had a turnover. I don't think it was ruled an interception on Kirk. I think they hit it out of his hand, so they ruled it a fumble, whatever they wanted to rule it. So, but defensively, the Vikings just dominated them. Fields was not great, that's for sure. He obviously got hurt, and then Badgett comes in, and obviously he fumbles, and Jordan Hicks takes it for a score, and defensive player of the week. So claps out to Jordan Hicks. So we're happy of the win, but you know what? A win's a win. It was an ugly win, nonetheless.
Yeah.
But looking ahead here, you got the Niners coming up. Obviously, offense needs to step up, and you're going against one of the, if not the best team in the NFL. They've got some injuries, though. They just lost the Browns, and you got the hat on right there. Voldy, looking forward, and I asked this of the zoners, too, going in this game, this is a Monday night game, and here we go, Kirk Cousins, primetime game, can't get it done, so we got that going on for us. But he's still, I think he's second in yards right now, Voldy, so your MVP prediction's not too far off.
Not looking too dumb right now, I'm just saying.
So that's a very good thing. But what do you expect the Vikings to do to just kind of, right the ship on offense? Because I think that's the A topic, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think looking at that game against Chicago, too, I mean, you got exactly what you wanted out of a pair of 1-4 teams. And I think the saving grace for the Vikings in that win was the fact that Justin Fields did get hurt and he didn't come back into the game as well. So if he did, I think, honestly, that would have been a completely different result for the Vikings as well. Regardless of that, too. I mean, the defense, like we've been saying, the defense is going to have to win some games here this year, especially with the way that JJ's out. The offense, has been kind of hit or miss a little bit at times, but now we've seen, at least now for the third week in a row here, this Vikings defense started to get a little bit more comfortable under the Flores system here, and it's paying dividends off, especially with that strip sack into a fumble recovery for a touchdown, too. So that's really been helpful to see as well. But yeah, I think the offense is definitely something to keep a very close eye on as well, especially, without JJ, you're going to have to run the ball a little bit more. How's that work with Cam Akers and with Madison as well in that mix too, and how that's all going to develop here for this team. So, but there are still plenty of options available on that offensive side. But unfortunately, hands like feet with some of these receivers too that just continue to drop balls, unfortunately, and that's been one of the categories, unfortunately, the Vikings offense has been leading in is drop passes here this year.
And, a lot of those drop passes, unfortunately, and I hate to say it, is from Hawkinson. He had one against Chicago too, but after that drop, he caught a couple nice ones too. So I don't want to, completely bash him for that. Addison had one that we were hoping that would kind of jumpstart. He did have the touchdown. We just need to have more. I feel like a little bit more production, per se, not from just Addison, but. I mean, Brandon Powell's no slouch. He's very good. I think he's very good in the slot there. I also do like KJ. And I don't know, this might be a sneaky one, but I don't want to, put, all that in one basket. But Jalen Naylor's coming back from IR. And I feel like if you've seen not only how he's done on special teams, but how he's done on when he's been in the lineup and when he's been out there, I think he can be a good asset for the offense there. Not only that, you still got N'Keal Harry. Dalton Reisner had a good game. I really like the way how he played after Cleveland went down. I don't know. I didn't look at the injury report today, but Cleveland, I'm not sure what his deal is, but Reisner looked good. He filled in left guard pretty well. We're looking pretty good. Alex says, Voldy and Zoners, Kirk looked lost without JJ. I don't know. I think he had the guys, and I'm not saying, because the O-line is actually one of the tops in the NFL right now. It's hard to believe. It's true. But I wouldn't say he looked lost. I just think that he's getting used to, I don't have that option there. I got to look to Addison. I got to look to KJ. Right. I got to look to Hawkinson. So those guys, and Powell, you can add that too. And hopefully N'Keal Harry. You have to build that up by trusting the other guys. And Hawkinson right now, he's got to reel some of that stuff in. And it's like, well, Kirk's got to put it on him at this, TJ Hawkinson's one of the top paid tight ends right now. Is the top paid tight end right now. He's got to make those plays. So we got that going for us. So we got that, and now you play a team like the San Francisco 49ers. They've got their own injury issues right now. You got McCaffrey hurt, oblique. It's not as bad as they thought. And then you have Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel's not, banged up a little bit. Not sure his status. Trent Williams, same deal. So, Voldy, going into this Monday night game, I personally think, and I'm going to say this, and I'll send it over to you and the Zoners, but they have to out-physical the most physical team in the NFL. There is no way that they win or even have a chance if they can't out-physical. They have a solid D-line. They have a solid O-line, even without Trent Williams. I mean, they got to play their best game of the season if they're going to beat them. So it helps without McCaffrey, without Samuel, without Williams in there. But wouldn't you agree? I mean, do they probably out-physical this team? I mean, cause some turnovers, things like that? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they are going to have to play their most absolute perfect game of the season with this contest. Even with a couple of guys kind of limping in there, Trent Williams, McCaffrey and Deebo as well. I mean, if they remotely think that they can go, they're probably going to go, and they're still going to be a force to be reckoned with offensively for the Niners too. Let's not also forget the fact that they also still have George Kittle. They still have Brandon Ayuk as well.
Yep.
Defense can still get after a couple of guys too, even with a couple of guys kind of questionable coming into this game against Minnesota too. But still, even a 75% Niners team is still something to be recognized with too. I think, definitely this team is going to have to play their most perfect game of the season and really, really going to have to get after get after Brock Purdy and really force some pressure on him to make some errant throws, because that is what's going to have to really dictate this whole game as well. If the defense can put pressure on Brock Purdy, I think he can definitely give the ball up a couple of times and give the Vikings at least a pretty good chance at breaking out of this funk and maybe, just maybe, make something happen on Monday night.
We talked about this last week, and when you were talking with Jimbo Voldy, you said, I mean, after this game, there's winnable games these next few, like
Very
5
winnable
or
games,
6.
yeah.
So now that you have that, in front of you, if they play their best game, and here's the thing, the Cleveland Browns did something that a lot of teams have not done, is get to Brock Purdy. And, it's like, well, he didn't have Debo, and McCaffrey played a good chunk of the game. Don't get that twisted. Yep. He played a good chunk of the game. Their defense is very good. Now that the Vikings are getting pressure on guys, I think what hurts, though, is with Davenport being out. But DJ Wanham's been getting in there. He's been getting sacks, pressures, things like that. When you have that, that's damn good. And, what Flores has done with his defense is fantastic. This is something that Ed Donatel could not do. So, not only do you have, the corners who stepped up, Byron Murphy, I feel like, has had some really good games. Caleb Evans has played very well. I just think if they don't have Debo, I think that doesn't help Purdy as much. You have that Jennings makes a couple plays here and there. Ayuk, you mentioned. Kittle's always a threat, not only in the passing game, but blocking as well. I think as long as Flores and the defense can make stops, can get to Purdy, if they force a turnover or two, they're in good shape. Offensively, you look at what they have on defense. Nick Bosa can wreck a game, and Armstead's still there. He's still a beast. Fred Warner is good. Jimmy Ward and I think Haifunga or something like that. He's good. He's a good safety. So running the ball again. And one thing that peeved me a little bit in this last game, they didn't use Cam Akers enough. Cam Akers, I think, got 2 carries. You need to have him in there. And the concern that I've had with Alexander Madison has come into fruition. His vision, he is missing wide open lanes, man. Yep. And I just think that we need a guy that can do that. Dalvin did that, right? Now, with Cam Akers, he can do that. I feel like Cam can be that guy. I think he needs to play a little bit more. The offensive line's been playing well, run blocking-wise, pass blocking-wise has been good. So, I think that they could possibly upset them. I'm not saying they will. Not saying they will. I don't want to go that far yet. But I think if we're able to get separation, we're able to get... I think Hawkinson is bred for a big game here. So I think this could be very reminiscent, and hopefully that you get to hawk the ball and, go from there. So, Voldy, since this is a Monday night game, obviously, it is a little bit down the road, but as of right now, and, obviously our opinions can change here, and Zoners, I asked this of you, and sorry, Alex, I didn't get to you here. Vikings need to play a nearly perfect game if they want to win. I'd say they have to play a perfect game. I'm just going to say it right now. They're going to have to, even if McCaffrey doesn't play and Debo doesn't play and Trent Williams. Right. But Voldy, do the Vikings upset the Coach Payne 49ers, or do they take the L? But there is hope after this game. What do you think?
I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go on a limb here.
Okay.
Really thinking about it, the way that this defensive line has been playing these last few weeks, even this whole season too, the way the defense is really starting to come together for things too. Danielle Hunter is already at, I think, what 8 sacks already?
Yeah, something like that.
8 sacks already this season.
Yeah.
This could be a huge, huge night for them. I feel like if they can get pressure on Brock Purdy, force him to make some errant throws, if they can get him out of the pocket, maybe cough one up and fumble one, and defense can recover. I think the Vikings can do it. I think they really do. They're really going to have to mix things up on offense as well. Obviously, we're going to have to see a lot more of Cam Akers out of that run too, because like you had said too, with the vision of Madison just hasn't fully been there. Definitely could be a big game for Hawkinson as well, because this Sunday is actually going to be National Tight Ends Day, and we extend that into Monday as well.
This is true.
That's going to be huge, especially unfortunately for George Kittle too, and then you throw in TJ Hawkinson. There is definitely hope here for the Vikings. I think they can do it. I think they can pull off the upset here and get that Monday night win, and it helps. And it's also at home too.
Let me add this.
Yeah.
I give
Yeah.
yeah. So
Dummy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that that's the case. You put me in this terrible position right now, and I want to do the same thing. I want to do the same thing. I do. But you know what? I'm gonna play this one.
Oh my God, Kirko, chill.
Hashtag no chill though, and then
You like that? You like that?
this could be a big Kirko game, Voldy.
Hell yeah.
This could be a big Kirko game. I'm gonna do it. I think they're gonna win. I think we're gonna go. So yeah. So let's go with that. LA Knight. Shout out LA Knight. I think the Vikings are gonna upset the Niners. I did it. I just did it. I just think, you know what? Screw it. If they get it done, that's great. But they do play the Packers after this game at Lambeau. I believe it's a noon game. They've done fairly well against the Packers at noon instead of like a later game or, well, I primetime game they've done okay, but they have a noon game against the Pack. So I'm surprised Jason and/or Hanley aren't ripping me right now.
Well.
Or us. Excuse me, us. Because, but you know what? We don't care. We're gonna watch Kirko. We're gonna watch Kirko no chill. So
You like that?
Big Kirko wakes up dripping like this.
you're damn right he does, Voldy. So that's gonna do it for Hot Take this week. And obviously no special segment this week because literally it was stacked with Minnesota sports. We had to get to it. So well done, Voldy, and well done to the Zoners chiming in. Alex says, don't worry, the Packers will be extra tired from the smoking the Broncos to play well next week. Let's go!
Huge.
Yeah!
Huge.
So, even though I hate Sean Payton. But, if they're going to be tired, make that upset happen, Alex. I want to see it. Let's make it happen. So, anyway, Voldy, I think it's time for some ARA. We've got some really good ARAs. A lot of Olympics talk these past couple weeks. 2 stories involving that. Bill Belichick on the hot seat. We'll talk more about that. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this, Voldy, being Patriots and all. So we got that going on, and oh my gosh, this thing is so slow right now. It's just it's making me mad. But that's what's coming up. And after that, Shield shoutouts. We got some good Shield shoutouts for this week. So without further ado, let's get it going. What's up? Absurd or approved?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, you know what time it is, absurd or approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, taking a look, obviously, the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris are set to get underway in just about 6 months' time. Talks about what's coming up with 2028. That's the Los Angeles Olympics. That's right. The good old
yes.
US of A will be hosting another Summer Olympics. But sports will be added into it as well for 2028, which does include some old favorites and some new popular sports that have taken the rise in recent years. Once again, cricket is back in as an Olympic sport for 2028, as well as the return of baseball and softball for 2028, as it'll sit out, unfortunately, for the 2024 Summer Olympics as well. But then adding in some new sports as well. Flag football, lacrosse, and squash are going to be added into the Olympic regimen here for sports coming up here in 2028. And of course, with the addition of flag football into it, well, a couple of NFL players have already thrown their hat into the ring, including a one Tyreek Hill saying, hey, boys, we got to bring this home for a Team USA here, and signing up for the flag football squad for Team USA. But looking at this potential of more sports coming into it, but also looking at the opportunity here for Team USA to rack up dominance once again. Is it absurd or approve these sports being added? And what's the likelihood of Team USA bringing gold in any of these sports?
Very, very well put together question. I like that. First of all, stamp of approval, all of them. All of them. Look, when you have baseball, when you have softball into that, that's fantastic. The flag football aspect, look, I'm saying it's absurd. You know why? Because it's going to be unfair. USA is going to demolish the competition. The reason why I say that is because they're going to be so damn good. And Alex says it right here. He says Jefferson and Hill in Olympic flag football would be wild. It would be.
Get wild. Lamar at quarterback there. Whoo, doggy.
Gronk wants in, man.
Of course he does.
Just saying. So I mean,
go out there and hurt somebody.
Yeah. Well, the thing. Yeah. I wonder how they would. Determine a lot of the rules too, because it's like, can you run over guys? Can you not run over guys? So you get Jalen Ramsey in there on defense. Aaron Donald, it'd be unfair for a lot.
Could you imagine your prime NFL flag football? You get Ed Reed playing flag football, Ray Lewis.
Oh my gosh!
You get Randy Moss back in the day, just out there hurting dudes left and right. That's awesome.
It'd be insane. Tom Brady
just
out there,
cutting up dudes left and right with his passes.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Nope.
So these sports being added, well, the flag football, we already know that. Cricket, I think, is going to be a tough one. I feel like that one is kind of the one that you look at and say, wow, there's a lot of other countries that do it really well too. So I think I don't know about that one. Softball, I think we're very strong in that for USA, so I think that would be a good one. Baseball, again, that one is tough because there's a lot of great teams, as we saw World Baseball Classics and all that. So that one would be tough, but obviously flag football, number one for me, and then I think after that I'd put softball. So. Yeah, I mean, just how stacked that flag football team would just be unreal. I mean, it would be unfreaking real. And
be gross.
I'm just thinking of, McCaffrey in the backfield there. You'd have the speed pretty down. Yeah.
Get Isaiah Pacheco just to literally truck dudes.
Yeah, exactly.
Just for that and that only.
I mean, you could throw in, shoot. Honestly, they'd be pretty good. Pretty good. So, stamp of approval for all the sports being in there. So, Voldy, what do you got?
I think obviously the addition of flag football. Obviously, we've seen the recent rise of it. From obviously the main perspective of obviously male players, but also female flag football has really taken off in the last 5, 6, if not 10 years as well, and that rise too. So that'll be definitely fun to watch, and how that's all how that's all controlled at the Olympic level. Cricket's a very interesting one as well to be thrown back in there too. I don't think Team USA has really got a chance, but you never know. You got to watch out for India, Britain, Australia as well, the United Kingdom, I should say. Throw that in the mix. Lacrosse is a very interesting. Well, if it comes down to Team USA versus Team Canada in lacrosse, I would not be surprised by that one. baseball, softball, always fun to watch. Team USA's always got a chance there, but you got to watch out for obviously the Japanese in both sports, the Dominicans, the Cubans as well, and the baseball side of things too. Squash is another one. Fairly can throw up, throw
Squash.
anybody into the mix there and just see what happens out of that. But definitely got my stamp of approval. I just can't wait to watch some Olympic flag football thrown out there coming up here in 2028. So that'll be fun to watch.
The one thing I do worry about is if somebody gets hurt and then it ruins their NFL season for flag.
Yeah, that's true.
But not saying that.
But
not saying that they should do it. I'm just saying that it's something to figure out here. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, with the addition of baseball and softball returning to the Olympic stage for 2028 in Los Angeles, it's kind of raised a couple of eyebrows for those that have maybe wanted the chance to represent their country in the Olympics that are already professional at that sport as well. One of them being Philadelphia Phillies, a player, that being Bryceharper, says he would love to serve on Team USA and play for his country on the U.S. baseball team in the Olympic level, if it just so happens to work out that way. And professional players as well, players in the MLB, can play at the Olympics as well. All really something that doesn't really come to mind when you think about it, but actually is quite a lot of rules, because unfortunately during that time with the Olympics, the Major League Baseball season's actually going on, but other professional leagues actually pause their season during the Olympics in hopes to get those professional players to play for their countries, i.e. the Japanese play for Team Japan, so that way they can take the gold every single time. But looking at that possibility, does MLB have the opportunity or maybe even the obligation to say, you know what, if you want to play for Team USA, work it out with your club. We have no reason to stop you. But is it absurd or approved? Should regular full-time MLB players be able to play in the Olympics coming up in 2028?
Absolutely. Stamp of approval right away. I think Bryceharper would be a great addition. I know he's kind of got that I don't give a crap attitude and whatnot. And I think he would bring to that. I think they could assemble a really good team. Don't get me wrong. I think that the MLB players should as well. You add in USA definitely would, struggle against teams like Dominican Republic and all that. And I just think that if they get the right guys, I think they'd be very good. I think Corey Seager would be a guy that you'd add to that team that would be pretty good. And then Aaron Judge. Trying to think of some other guys that would be pretty good. Obviously, Lopez wouldn't be on the pitching staff. Verlander, I think. Well, this is 2028.
5 years from now.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Verlander going to be old.
You're going to be old. Maybe Joe Ryan.
He already old.
Go well.
Joe Ryan was on Team USA in Tokyo. He was on that team as well. Yeah. Him and a couple other guys that represented. That was the one guy that stuck out. This was actually before the trade for Nelson Cruz. Royce Lewis too. Yeah, that was also another name thrown out there. But yeah, I think that's definitely something to keep a lookout for.
Yeah, keep an eye out. Stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think MLB should at least consider an opportunity to do so, because the fact it draws more attention to the sport. But there's also the fact that it's not drawing attention to your organization, that being Major League Baseball. I would certainly hope that, that professional players at least have the option to do so. If they want to leave their regular club middle of the season and play for their country as well, that should be their choice. It also helps that the Olympics are in the United States and not somewhere across the world as well. So that makes it so a lot of the guys are already there to begin with. They're just, staying in California for 2-3 weeks or something like that during that time with the pool play. Then you go into the knockout stage and the gold medal in the middle rounds as well. So at least they're going to be in the same country as well. Don't have to worry about, quarantining or adjusting time schedules and all of that. Works out great for some of the guys that are already in California, if not already in LA. You can just go and do your thing. No need to worry about it if or whensoever. Works out pretty great there. I think the MLB definitely needs to take a serious look at that. They've got a couple of years to at least consider and at least garner, interest from the players if the Players Association wants to sit down and have talks about it, I think they should definitely have the choice to do so. It's got my stamp of approval.
I was gonna say like add some like former players that would Derek Jeter or something like that, or I mean
Right.
obviously they're done
too
now,
old.
I get
Too
that.
old.
Yeah. No, I know
Yeah.
they'd be too, but I'm just thinking from like an actual assembling a team and whatnot. So
Maybe like a GM role for Jeter or something like that. That'd be cool.
that is a great idea.
Help
I
build a
think-
team. It's not like they didn't have a bad go around with the World Baseball Classic team. Mark DeRosa did a pretty good job. He had a pretty good
Yeah.
coaching staff with him for
Yeah.
that too, which had like Ken Griffey Jr. On there as like hitting coach as well. I mean, they had a pretty good group there. So they
think
pieced
they
that
could
all together.
assemble a
Maybe
really
throw in a
good
couple
team.
extra guys. I think they could definitely do something. I think with it being in Los Angeles, I think this is going to be a call for like, hey, let's do this. Let's really
Exactly.
put our foot down here and let's put our foot on the throat of the world here and win a gold medal. So
Might as well.
Yeah.
All right, next one, Voldy.
well, former Twins reliever Trevor May announced his retirement from Major League Baseball, but at the same time had a few choice words for the ownership group of his former squad, not the Twins, I should say. Preface that the Oakland Athletics, for which he was ended his career with in the Major League Baseball world. And well, now that his retirement did come through as well, he did have a couple of choice words for the ownership group that is obviously moving the team to Las Vegas coming up here in the near future. Quote as saying to the A's organization, every single person who's a part of it, I love you all, every single one of you, except for one guy. And we all know who that guy is. Sell the team, dude. Let someone who actually takes pride in the things they own something. There's actually people who give a four-letter word that starts with S about the game. Let them do it. Take mommy and daddy's money somewhere else, comma, dork, period. With those comments also being thrown out by Trevor May, obviously voicing his displeasure about the A's ownership and them moving the team to Las Vegas coming up, and the subsequent reverse protests that took place during the season where they actually filled the stadium as opposed to fans not showing up at all. There's a lot that happened here in this season that the A's just don't really have anything positive come out of it. But out of that whole rant from Trevor May during his Twitch stream as well, you think it's absurd to approve of his comments to the A's ownership and, of course, the team moving to Las Vegas.
Whew. Are we sure? Now, here's my question. Are we sure he wasn't talking about the Pohlads? Are we sure? Do we know? No, anyway, the Oakland A's right now, the organization in general, absolute mess. Was he wrong for saying that? No, he's retired. He's got nothing to lose. He doesn't need to, try to, put guys in good light. He gave an opinion on a Twitch stream. He's retired. What are they going to do to him? And, it just kind of shows, how bad things are there. If we thought the Pohlads have been a pain in our, thorn in our side, well, just to think if you're an A's fan, it doesn't bother me as much. The guy's, done, and, he's very good. I thought he was a pretty good pitcher and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And, for him, giving his comments about that and, saying what he said about, the ownership and whatnot, I'm sure, obviously I don't think his number will be retired there. So, but I mean, I got no problem with it. Doesn't really bother me as much. I just think it's a testament of what people were thinking of this A's organization and them moving to Vegas there. And especially that stadium's just, it's a mess. And, hopefully things will turn out a little bit better in Vegas, but, calls him a dork and everything like that. I just think it's funny. I just feel like that place is, I just feel
not good.
It's just not good. Yeah, it's just not good. But stamp approval, got no problem with it. Voldy, what do you got?
I really think that Trevor May was voicing his opinion that every single person on the A's squad has the same feeling about the A's ownership. I
Yeah.
could be wrong. I don't know. I can't say that. I'm sure all those guys are, first off, glad to be still gainfully employed and at least playing at the major league level. But you would certainly think a major league ball club would be able to compete and at least have the same sort of amenities that everybody else has. But with the ownership that they have with the Oakland A's, soon to be in Las Vegas as well, coming up, looks like in 2025 for that season, as well as the current lease for the stadium in Oakland ends actually after next season as well. Uh, but I really think that there's nothing too outlandish said by Trevor May or everything as well, because, obviously he's not one to mince words. He's retired. What are they going to do? Sue him?
Yeah.
Free, he's allowed to at least voice his opinion about the ownership and John Fisher as well. The real sad part of it as well, the stadium that they are supposed to be building in Las Vegas, not going to be done until 2028. So you got 25, 26, and 27. That's 3 years that they're going to find somewhere to play. And they still haven't even figured out where that's going to be coming up here after next season as well. If that doesn't scream Oakland A's, I don't know what will with this group that they have in the ownership realm for the Oakland Athletics. But I don't see any problem with it whatsoever. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of guys in that clubhouse and maybe even some of the coaches and other vested parties with the Oakland A's that are voicing their same concerns, but not fully allowed to voice their concerns because of the fact that, well, they probably wouldn't have a job by the end of saying those comments as well. But it's got my stamp of approval as well.
Well, just kind of shows you how things are going over there. So, he's saying what we say about the Pohlads, obviously different reasons and different, times, but
Different reasons.
It's just how it is. So, going to the NFL, Voldy.
We head to the NFL, and quite could possibly be one of the quickest returns from an injury that we've seen in recent minds. And of course, coming off the heels before the upset victory by the New York Jets over the Philadelphia Eagles, injured quarterback Aaron Rodgers was actually seen walking without crutches and throwing passes to obviously players that were going to be playing in the game. But this coming off, of course, now 5 weeks removed from surgery and the initial injury by Aaron Rodgers that tore his Achilles and also set him back from possibly even returning this season as well. But more and more experts are leaning towards to the way things are kind of shaping up. Well, obviously him without crutches right now on the field of throwing passes, of course, not at the NFL speed that he would be like. There is a possibility that Rodgers could be back on the field by week 15 in a possible crunch situation and needed contest and wins as well for this New York Jets team. Scored that upset win against the Eagles this past week. Beat the Broncos the week before as well. But looking at it as it comes down to possibly a week 15 return for Rodgers, is it absurd or approved? Could Rodgers return and possibly make a difference for the team going into those final weeks of the regular season?
He's trying to be like AP. I know. He's trying to do the same thing AP did. People didn't think he'd play at the beginning of the season, but he did, and he obviously, had a career year. But I say that, jokingly there. I hate to say this, but it's got my stamp of approval. Here's why. That defense, I'm telling you right now, that defense is for real. Quinnen Williams is a monster. Franklin Myers, another good defensive tackle, and C.J. Mosley, Sauce Gardner. They're for real. I mean, Saul has put a lot of hard work into that defense, and they've shown why they're one of the top defenses in the NFL. Zach Wilson, I feel, has been able to weather the storm a little bit. He's kind of kept it afloat. A lot of people were, he's got no chance against the Chiefs. He played well against the Chiefs. He goes into Denver, gets the job done there. Thank you for beating Sean Payton's ass. And then you go and you beat the Philadelphia Eagles, literally a team that is probably, be in the NFC, represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Could quite possibly be. And they forced, 3 turnovers on Jalen Hurts. I think they can definitely do it. It's Breece Hall, another added thing that helps a lot. And you don't even see much of Dalvin Cook. And I say that fantasy-wise because, unfortunately, I feel like Dalvin's gotten the short end of the stick, unfortunately for him. But Breece Hall, I feel like, has played very well. They have a good run game. And if you add Rodgers to that mix, it's looking pretty good. The one concern I have is that offensive line. That, I think, is something that could hurt them in the long run because they've struggled. I mean, they've struggled. And, they got to find a way to protect if he comes back because, you can't have him get injured again, So, to answer your question, it's got my stamp of approval. I think he could make a difference in the final weeks. I think they're definitely going to be in the, obviously playoff hunt at that point. But if you add Rodgers in there, I think he's going to be pretty good at that point. So if that happens, I'm saying if that happens. I mean, the Achilles injury is a tough thing to come back from. So we'll have to see. Before we get to you real quick, if the Jets make it to the playoffs, would you really want to play a brittle old man who just came off an awful injury?
I mean, compared to what that's a tough one. If they do make the playoffs, I mean, that is going to be the question. Do you want to go with the guy that got you there with Zach Wilson? I mean, quote unquote, got you there. I don't know what the rest of the season is going to look like, but yeah, like you had said, Zach Wilson he's been doing enough to not get benched, I would say. He's been doing enough to keep teams in game. Obviously, he outplayed Mahomes on that Sunday night game. He got the win against Denver, and then obviously did well enough to get that win against Philly too. And we know the defense came through in that contest to at least seal things up there down the stretch too. But like we were saying, Zach Wilson, he's been doing enough to keep that starting job too. But then you throw in, it's like, but we got Aaron Rodgers. He's got the playoff experience, big game situation, not afraid of the big lights and everything. That's going to be a tough one. I don't know. I think the AFC East, even with the Bills, I mean, the Bills are shaky. They're very shaky right now. Which Bills team are you going to get week to week?
Exactly.
We know that Miami has been, shooting for the moon every single game. They're looking to put up 45 points a game and, outgain you by 300 yards in total offense as well, which is just unfathomable to even think about as well. I think they still lead the whole NFL by like 600 total yards of offense so far, and they're already well over the fact. I can't remember if it's Tyreek Hill and he's almost at 1,000 yards receiving and it's week 6 already, or somebody's almost at 1,000 yards 6 weeks into the receiving year too. I mean, it's just crazy to think about. But looking at and talking about the Jets here too, would it be something that could be beneficial? Really all depends on the situation. If you're in the reins of a playoff spot, and Zach Wilson, he's won you games. He's maybe made a couple of bad plays. Maybe the defense has let you down. It's all really leading up to this point. Do you want to go with the guy that got you there or the guy that was supposed to get you there? And I don't want to say let the team down. You can't help, a guy gets injured. There's nothing in his hands about that. Certainly very interesting to watch on with that. I don't think that you do. I think you keep Rodgers ready to go. I think you get him, say, both those guys, you're going to, quarterback number 1 here. We're going to see what happens. Zach's going to start. Rodgers, be ready. Any situation here, be ready to go. I think that's really what you got to have here going into those last few weeks, even if you want to risk it too, because you've got him for potentially another season too. Just all depends on how that's going to play out. But I think, I think Rodgers could make the return, but in what situation, how beneficial that's going to be for the team, it's got my stamp of approval.
I think another thing I want to bring up too before we have our last ARA, I think Saleh, what he said after the press conference of like he embarrassed all those quarterbacks. I wouldn't have said that. I really wouldn't have said that. I mean,
No.
they played well. Don't get me wrong. The defense played very well. Embarrassed, I think, was the wrong word to say at that time. But, another thing, too, is, like people saying, oh, people are doubting Rodgers that he could play this season. Who's doubting him? I haven't seen anyone saying, like, oh, he ain't coming back. He ain't coming. Like, maybe he won't. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Maybe you want. I don't know.
I don't know who's doubting. Like, who's doubting? Just tell me who. So
I don't know.
Who knows? But, all right, Voldy, last one. But this one kind of hits home a little bit. Go ahead.
Well, now going into week This could be week 7 of the NFL season.
Yep.
Week 6. One team that's been historically pretty good over the last quarter century is having to put a lot of question marks on the makeup of their team, that being the New England Patriots. 1-5 on the season. You've got questions at the quarterback spot. Why is the offense not producing? Why is the defense hanging on for dear life for most games? But one question that remains: will Bill Belichick still be head coach for the New England Patriots if the rest of the season, going into the end of this season as well, on the hot seat, to say the least? Because obviously 1-5, the worst start since I think 1995, even predating Belichick, which is even saying something because he's been there that long. The offense has been struggling. They've had only 12 points per game this season as well, getting outscored in the last 3 games 93-20, including a shutout or two along the way. Mac Jones has been struggling. They've been mixing guys in and out, left and right, trying to find the right mix overall. New offensive system, obviously, in the mix there with the likes of Bill O'Brien back where his coaching career kind of got that big jump start as well back in the day. But, you also look at the fact that the Patriots team is being steered by Belichick on the field and even off the field, because he's also serving as GM for the team, and how the last few years the roster has just been questionable with the amount of turnover and guys coming back, guys getting hurt, guys getting cut for coming back, guys getting cut for getting hurt for coming back in the first place as well, and just continues to go further and further down with the quality of players, the stockpiling in draft picks, not going after big free agents as well up until a couple of seasons ago too. But this is a situation, you look at it here, 1-5 in a division that could be attainable if you were 5-1, especially too with the AFC East. But is it absurd to approve? Could we see Bill Belichick's Patriots run come to an end here at the end of the season?
I'll be kind of quick with mine because I want your thoughts. Yes, I believe it will, and it's just shows that this team, and you know what, and I'm sorry, Caitlin, but she does have a boyfriend now, so it's okay. Matt Jones has been terrible, and it's really shown how bad things have gotten with him. They keep on having to bring in Bailey Zappi. They need to find some guy. I think it's going to come to an end, and I don't doubt that Belichick's going to be fully done with football, but I could also see him, maybe being, that like special consultant type of, position or something like that. But I just think that, this team ain't it. And it's not the defense, it's just the terrible offense. I was watching the game against, I was watching NFL Red Zone, and the game against Las Vegas, and they didn't score a touchdown in like 2 games. They couldn't score. You need to be able to have a potent offense, and they just don't have it. I think he's definitely on the hot seat. I think you need to make that change. And he's gotten you to the Super Bowl. He's gotten you Super Bowls. He's done everything that there is to do. I think if he goes out the way that, people expect that he's going to go out, I think that's a little bit respectable, but I don't know if they do it right now. I'd be shocked if they did it. during in the middle of the season. But yeah, stamp of approval. He's 100%, and I think it's going to come to the end of the season. All right, Voldy, what do you got?
The initial thoughts of what needs to happen, I think one of the titles has to go. Bill Belichick head coach or Bill Belichick GM. Can't do both anymore, unfortunately. And this isn't the NFL that it was 15, 20 years ago, where you could balance it out enough. And obviously the Patriots were the best team in football in that regard as well. Things have changed drastically in how the amount of coaches and or GMs get fired left and right and how that all works out. And yet Bill Belichick's the only one that really remains. 1-5 on the season is not a good look to, even with talks of, even reports that Robert Kraft would be even in consideration of maybe letting go Belichick mid-season or something along those lines. I think with this group that they have, obviously with Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, I know that if something would go down, nobody's going to go down quietly. Someone's going down, and they're taking some bodies with them as too. It's like they all know where the bodies are buried with the Patriots, for lack of a better phrase there too. But I think it's going to be one of those where they're going to have to mutually part ways. I don't think firing is not a good look for either one of them.
Yeah.
Parting ways is going to be something like that. And obviously being a special consultant assistant to the owner or whatever job title you want to throw out there to Belichick, coaching aside, I know that he probably still has the passion for it, but the NFL continues to change. And in the last couple of seasons, it just feels like the Patriots haven't gone along with it. Sure, they've had a couple of moments where things were looking like they're starting to turn around, but it's like if they add on a couple of more losses and they don't start turning things around, I think that hot seat is really going to crank up, and Belichick's going to be starting to think like maybe it is time or maybe something does need to change.
Yeah.
I just think that a coach and GM, a coach GM like Bill Parcells used to do back in the day as well, you just can't do that nowadays. There's just too much going on, and I don't know how he still continued to do it, especially in his 70s with Belichick, but one of the two has to go. One of the job titles. It's either head coach or it's going to be GM. Me personally, I feel like it has to be the GM situation. But then again, he's got so much control with that team. I don't know how that's going to work out for a GM. So it may very well have to be both. I think for him, think we could definitely see if they don't finish, if they definitely finish 500, I think they stick it out for one more season. If they finish like 5 or 6 games under 500, I could definitely see Bill Belichick being let go at the end of the season for sure.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I think, are calling. I think a lot of fans, and I just think they kind of want the fresh start type of approach. But I think Kraft will do something that they'll all kind of be in unison with. So we'll see.
Yep.
We shall see. All right, that'll do it for ARA this week. Great job as always, Voldy. Shield shoutouts. Got a lot of special Shield shoutouts this week.
Yes, sir.
For all zoners, and obviously there's retirements and things like that. And should be a good one. So let's get it going. Let's Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who you shouting at tonight?
Well, do have to wish a happy belated birthday, even though I did say happy birthday to her in person, Molly Vold, who celebrated another birthday over the weekend. Our winner from the picks this past week, so a nice birthday present, late birthday present for Molly Vold. I'll have to get that to her in the near future as well. So congratulations to Molly on winning picks, and also a happy belated birthday to the commish as well. I do have to say congratulations to my co-host, Matt Callahan. Got himself a big boy job as late. You haven't seen on the social media. Got himself gainfully employed. So Shield shout out to you, sir. And then also have to wish a happy retirement former Twins reliever trevormay as well, as he announced his retirement from Major League Baseball. And we already talked about with ARA had a very unceremonious
he said
ties. He said what he said, and he's not gonna, mince words about it. He said what he said, and there's no going back on that. So best of luck. I'm sure he'll keep himself quite busy, maybe along the lines of like Trevor Plouffe in retirement, just find something to stick around and definitely be a voice that will be heard quite often in his post-playing career as well. And, well, that's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts here this week.
I think there's one more. I believe there's one more. Didn't we?
No, I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. That'll do it for Shield Shoutouts. Great job as always, Voldy.
Yes, sir.
Pick them. Make sure you get those picks in. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Not this week, but I think we'll go in the previous weeks and go from there. We'll do something.
Mm-hmm.
The Sweatpants, they're in, baby. Let's go.
Yes,
so
sir.
claps all around. I've received them. The thing is we're just kind of figuring out distribution and whatnot. So be on the lookout. We'll probably be sending those out, and we'll probably be meeting up with people sending those out as well. The shirts, $20, $5 shipping. The stickers, $2 for the small ones, $3 for the big ones.
Yep.
The hats, still working on, but they're looking pretty good. We still got these types and whatnot, and they're pretty sweet. And again, thank you, W2 Performance. Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com. National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, and Tyler Knutson for the stickers. They look great as always. Make sure you check out the Victorious P.O.D. with Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers. And then check out TLS Performance, Troy Stoudemire Jr., Popcorn Bucket List with Nick Dahlhoff, Ryne Myhrberg, and Omni Entertainment. So, that's gonna do it for the zone this week. Next week, a little up in the air. I know that someone's gonna be going on a vacation, so we'll see. We'll see if we bring in someone. If not, no worries, and we'll be back and ready to roll. Give our Vikings takes and all that stuff, and there's something in the works. And it's quite exciting. More on that later. We'll just kind of put it like that. More on that later. So just keep your eye out. Just keep an eye to the sky. So
keep an eye.
Not. So yeah, we'll have a lot of fun. We'll be back, and Skol Vikes, go Gophers. Go wild. That's all we got to say. So, without further ado, as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.